is for you.
They're put down there. You all set, Casey?
How come they don't put the...
I don't know. That's a good question. First of all, it's good to see all of you again. Just make a few brief remarks. I said earlier this summer after we went through the draft and then through free agency that we were pleased in terms of where we are in the rebuild. With that said, I also mentioned that we understand we have a lot of work to do. But there's an excitement with the group that we have. And there's an excitement because of the fact that this summer was about as good as it possibly could have been. Our coaching staff, Fred and Jim Boylan and the staff, worked really hard with our players. The players made a commitment to being here and working on their individual skill. And we talk all the time about the growth and development of our guys and how important that is. Now, you're not going to hear Gar and I talk about wins or anything like that, but the expectations for us are to see this team come together. What's exciting is that we're healthy. At least we start the year tomorrow healthy. We feel we're deep. We've got at least 2 deep at every position, so we expect training camp to be ultra competitive where guys will earn the minutes that they get on the floor, and that is very important for us. So a new year is always a blank slate for an organization and a team. I think we've got a really good group of guys that want to be as good as they possibly can be. What that means, that will be determined by how they come together and how well they play. So, again, it's always exciting. Love the beginning of the year, and we're ready to go.
I guess I'd just reiterate what John said, is just the excitement to get started again. The commitment that Fred and the players made this summer to improvement, and I think really are creating a culture with these young guys of playing together, playing hard, working together. I think the only thing I would add is, we're excited to add the 3 new guys that we have to our roster in Jabari, Chandler, and Wendell. And I think it's all 3 of those guys, and you've heard us talk about it in the past, but we think they bring a real versatility to this team moving forward. And I think they fit kind of where the game's headed. But most importantly, I think they fit our group, our team, and I think each of them have something to add. So we're excited to add them to the young core that we had already in place, and I'm sure Fred will talk more specifically as far as how they fit in and what they can bring to the table. But we want to welcome those 3 guys to this roster also.
And I'll just build on that a little bit with these last 3 weeks. We've had 20 players in our gym every day starting on September 5th. And before that, going all the way back to June, where we've had between 10 and 15 players in this gym making gains not only on the floor, but also very importantly in the weight room. You'll see guys that we had a year ago in the strength gains and the power gains that they've made are off the chart. So we're really excited about that. As far as where we want to be as a team, I kind of last year I'd break our season into 3 parts. And, that middle section where we had the second best record in the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of things that we can build off of from that stretch. And that's what it's all about for us. And, when I look at that stretch, as I just told our guys, there wasn't one team that we played against that played harder than us during that time. And that has to be our mentality for 82 games, is to go out and be the hardest playing team every night we step on the floor. We're excited about the new additions. We had a great start with our summer league with Wendell and with Chandler, getting a great opportunity to showcase some of the skills that they have and the versatility of Jabari. It's been fun to be around that as far as what we've accomplished here these last 3 weeks heading into tomorrow. It's a great opportunity for us to get off to a great start, hopefully tomorrow with our team and carry that over into the season.
Fred, we've heard about the Lowry getting bigger and stronger, and I wonder if you could talk about where you think what parts of his game will that help and benefit?
Well, yeah, I think it'll help his overall game. And you look at Lowry where he came in last year, and to John, talking about what we had last offseason. You had no Zach, you really had no Cam, and Lowry was busy with his national team commitments, and we really took it easy those first few weeks to let his body recover from the grueling summer that he had. So to be around our guys and to be in the weight room and to put on the size and strength that he did will help him overall all over the floor. From an offensive standpoint, hopefully the ability to be able to punish a switch more consistently on the block. We ran a lot of high-low type actions last year, but to be able to get a smaller guy on him and back him down, his strength as far as his ball handling and keeping guys on his hip when he's able to go by a bigger player. And then obviously on the defensive end is where it will help him the most, being able to compete and, play more positions more comfortably on that end because of the added strength.
John, I know you said that you guys aren't putting a number, whether it's a win total, the specifics you were talking about on this team, but at the same time, don't you feel like the pressure has ramped up? You guys signed Jabari. Obviously LeBron's out of the East now, the big monster that kept knocking you guys out. Don't you feel, though, outside this building, inside this building, the pressure is more on you guys to, yes, it's year 2 of the rebuild, but it's also there for the taking to at least start pushing this thing forward and be a playoff team?
Well, I think, first of all, there's pressure. Pressure is what guys thrive on, and we should as well. I think if our young guys grow through their hard work this summer, we will be a better basketball team. So we understand that. It's just we're still such a young team, and I told the guys in there, we may be young, but we're not as inexperienced maybe as when you look on paper. Lowry played 60-plus games last year. That's 2 college seasons. So, and we have the other young guys that have played quite a bit. I think it's why last year was important for us. We got guys, young guys, consistent minutes over a consistent period of time. So we understand that there's always pressure. Our goal is to be the best basketball team we can be, and that's through this group coming together. We have talent. I believe that. How it comes together, how we play, will determine what kind of a win total we end up. But we're not going to focus on that.
Hey guys, Chris, Zach, and Lowry only played maybe 200 or so minutes together last year. So even though they've played a lot of games, they didn't get a chance to develop continuity. So with that said, is this year a competitive year, or is it another developmental year with the roster pieces you have?
We're not going to get caught up in the label. This is the first opportunity we're going to have for a consistent period of time of getting them to play together. So what that means is still open. Like I mentioned, every year is a blank slate. We've got guys who are young and are hungry, and where that takes us will be determined by the season. So, of course, we want our young guys to develop. They spent a lot of time this summer working on their games. They spent a lot of time in the gym playing together to form some chemistry. Those are positives for us. But our league is tough, and it's tough to win in the NBA. There are good players, good teams, good coaches. So it's still out there for us, but that's what makes it exciting. I think when you look back to where we were, at the beginning of last year, now with Zach healthy, Chris Dunn's healthy, he was really starting to come into his own. What we see in Lowry and our young guys, the draft picks and Jabari now, that's a good place for us to be. Only time will tell, though.
This question's for Gar and John. Obviously, I know the PC answer is going to be you're worried about what's going on here only, but unless you guys have been in a cave, there's some drama going on in Minnesota with former people in this building. Are you surprised at what's gone on the last couple of weeks there, just knowing the people involved like you do? They're both former employees.
Yeah, but it's not on us to make any real comment on that. We obviously respect Jimmy as a player. He was here. We know how great he is. He did a lot of really good things for the organization, but that's not our concern. And when we made the deal last summer and acquired Zach and Chris and got Lowry in the draft, we moved on, and we're worried about it. We have too much to worry about internally ourselves to become a better team. It's never about that, and that's still to be determined, Joe. I mean, we've got young guys. That's still to be determined. And it's never about vindication. We did exactly what we thought was the right thing for the organization last year to rebuild, and we walked out of that night and we were comfortable then. We're comfortable now.
No, I think John hit it on the head. We've got enough to worry about right here at the Advocate Center, and that's for these young guys to continue to grow, develop, build a chemistry with each other. So feel good about where we're at, but know we have a lot of work left to do.
Fred, I know you've said many times that training camp will be an open competition, but as of right now, who's penciled in as your starting center? And if it is Robin Lopez, what kind of luxury is it to have that kind of veteran in place where you can bring Wendell along at the pace that he might need to be brought along at?
Well, it's going to be open competition in training camp this year. Look, again, Wendell showed a lot of things, Casey, at the Summer League in Vegas this year, but, we all do realize he's 19 years old. That being said, he does play beyond his years, and I really, truly believe that he's a modern-day big with his versatility on the front line, with being able to play multiple positions. Today's NBA, with the importance of having the ability to switch, and the way we saw him move his feet, not only in Summer League, but for the last 3 weeks when the guys get out on the floor and scrimmage against each other. So he's done a lot of things to show us his ability to step out and knock down a shot. But Robin's a 30-year-old vet going into his 11th year. And, he's a guy that has really given us some good moments the last few years and has a ton of experience under his belt, as a starter in this league. So, the thing I'm looking forward to, and, John hit it on the head, is how competitive this camp is going to be, how competitive our guys have been with these last few weeks, not only in drill work, but also obviously once they get on the floor and get up and down and scrimmage. So again, that'll all play itself out, KC, as far as roles and, who starts, who gets the minutes, and the most important, who's playing down the stretch in crunch time.
Yeah, John, about Fred, what do you need to see from him this year, and what would you like to see from him? And Fred, what would you like to show this year as a coach?
Well, let me start with, last year in a lot of ways was difficult from the get-go, and I thought Fred and his staff handled last year incredibly well. You start in training camp with the incident that happened between Bobby and Nico. We got it rolling a little bit, and then we had the injuries. We made the decision organizationally to play a lot of our young guys. Fred kept a very positive, upbeat attitude with our guys, and so that's a huge thing for us. I think more than anything, we're all on the same page. We had a lot of discussions this summer about our roster, about how we want to play. I think this roster could potentially be more conducive to how Fred wants to play. Maybe more. We keep using the word versatility, but we have some versatile guys that maybe we can play a little smaller at times if we choose to, and that's where Fred has had success in the past. So we're very comfortable with where we're at in terms of Fred, his relationship with us, his relationship with the players, and how we want to play. And I thought he did a lot of really good things last year.
Yeah, and I give these guys a lot of credit for putting this roster together and the makeup of our group. I do think that there is a lot of versatility, which you have to have in today's NBA, not only offensively but on the defensive end as well. And you look at the teams that are always in it in the end in the playoffs. You just look at the different styles that they are able to go out and play and compete. And I see some of that in this roster, so I give these guys a lot of credit for the makeup of this group, and I think it's going to be an exciting time in this organization for many, many years. So, as far as what I want to accomplish, Darnell, I want to get our guys to go out and buy into competing and playing at the hardest, being the hardest playing team every night. I want to see growth. I thought last year guys made significant progress in their careers, but it's our job now is to take that to the next level. And get our guys to go out there and take that next step. And that's an important part of this process when you have a young group is continue to make individual progress and in turn have everybody come together and be about one common goal. We're going to have a lot of sacrifice with this team because of the talent, because of the many weapons that we're going to have on this team. It may be a different guy every night, and that's going to have to be accepted. And, again, we're going to talk a lot about that. We already have. But what do we want, Darnell? We want growth. We want to continue to go out there and get better. I don't think so, Darnell. Again, if you get your guys to buy in and go out and compete and play together, you're going to have a chance every night you step on the floor.
John, I just want to follow up a little bit on something Fred just said. A lot of things, Fred, no, but just one thing. It was a while ago. You were on some pretty good teams, if you can remember back. And one element of that was there's sort of a pecking order. Who gets the ball at a certain time, who's going to be the lead scorer. And when you look at the great teams since then, it's usually been somebody special above the others that they hear to. Can this team have that? Is that important for this team to develop? And what do you see in this group for that?
Well, I think that'll be determined. Again, we we didn't have this group play together very much last year. So I think that will be determined. Again, it's a young group. They do have some experience in the league now, which is a great thing. I know that we're going to try to play quickly, throw the ball ahead a lot, movement. A lot of what Fred and his staff have spent on this summer is getting guys to understand more of a movement offense, team-oriented type thing. And, you know, what I always learned was that when you play that way, the ball finds open guys as long as you're moving. So, yeah, the great teams seem to have a pecking order, but that's to be determined. And I think in terms of like our leadership, that's something that will play itself out too. I think on every good team, you have several leaders, and my definition of a great leader has always been the guys that, it's not the guys that talk so much, it's the guys that work hard, compete every day in practice, and then on top of that, more importantly, is they support the teammates that they play with. So that'll be determined. Again, it's one of the exciting things about what we're about to embark on. And, we're looking for something that's sustainable. And if we can stay healthy, that's obviously a big thing. Injuries can derail a lot of things. We've had our share of those over the years. If we can stay healthy, then we'll find out who fits us going forward, and it'll help Gar and I make decisions with our roster.
Fred, from an analytics standpoint, statistically last year, having Zach when you guys had him, that's putting one of the poor defensive players out there. Now you've added another one in Jabari, who statistically is a poor defensive player. How big of a challenge is that to cover up their weaknesses or get them at this point, which, can you do that in year 4 or 5 of a guy to all of a sudden make him understand defense and want to play defense?
Well, it's been a big focus, Joe. We've really worked on the basics these last few weeks heading into training camp to try to get a step ahead, going into, we play in 5 days, so there's not a lot of time. So to get these guys in here in September, and there's rules, you can only do things in small groups with the players, but you really try to work on the basics and get these guys in the right position. I talked to them a lot about, if we can limit our turnovers and if we can get back in transition and take away easy baskets, then we're going to have a chance. Again, you look at a guy like Zach, who really did not have many reps with our team. Most of his time was with Windy City before he was able to get on the floor and he was cleared medically. So, to be able to have him in our gym and have a full training camp and preseason with him, I think will help in a big way. Another thing I talk a lot about, we should be able to compete on that defensive end with our speed and our length and our athleticism. There's no reason in the world we shouldn't be able to go out and make things tough on the other team. But again, it is going to take a commitment, and it's not about one individual guy, Joe. As you know, it's about getting all 5 on the same page and building the habits, and we've been working on that a lot these last few weeks.
For John and Gar, have you had extension negotiations with Bobby Portis, and what will the approach be to that leading up to the season opener?
We have. We've met with Mark several times, and we'll continue those conversations up until the deadline.
How do you value?
We value Bobby, and obviously we look at Bobby as a part of our core, and we think he's continued to improve and get better each and every year. I think all of us up here, we love the energy he plays with, the work ethic he has, what he brings to the practice floor, what he brings to the game floor. So that's why we've been having conversations, and we'll continue to do so up until the deadline.
Fred, getting Zach and Chris on the same page, that seems like a huge key, and obviously they haven't played a ton together. What's your strategy in letting them both share the ball and do what they want to do?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing with not only those two guys, with their whole team, is we got to understand playing off each other. And with those two guys at the 1 and the 2 position, when Zach rebounds the ball, Chris has to assume the wing runner, and Zach has to have a willingness to throw the ball ahead. And the same thing with Chris. If he gets the ball off or we outlet the ball, Zach needs to run ahead, and we need to look to throw ahead and attack and utilize our speed. But I have no issues with that. Again, you look at how few reps they had last year together, and then the year before in Minnesota in Chris's rookie year, in Zach's injury, they really have not had a lot of time to play together on the floor. So, we'll constantly look with the getting chemistry not only with those two but with our whole team, and that's what it's all about.
Sam's talked about the pecking order that great Bulls teams have had in the past. And I know you guys don't want to assign that to any one player, but over the summer, have you seen anybody with the personality to be a lead dog, so to speak?
You looked at all three of us. Who are you talking to?
Whichever one of you want to answer the question.
That's a good question, Vince. As far as there been one guy, no, and there's not a ton of teams in the league that have only one guy that take the last shot. We had multiple occasions when we were going through our really good stretch last year where Lowry would take the last shot, or Chris Dunn really developed into a closer. In a lot of those wins that we had. Zach had a couple of games where we put the ball in his hands late in games. Obviously, Jabari is capable of making a big play, especially at the three when you can put him on the block and take advantage of a mismatch. So, I really think, Vince, that, like John said, that will all develop as we go along, and we'll probably understand who has the makeup, to be that guy that we put the ball in their hands late in games.
I don't believe you can force leadership on any player. I think if we haven't even talked much about Justin Holiday, and Robin was mentioned, but they're two pros that are in our locker room. I think the biggest thing is, can they hold each other accountable in that locker room? And that, if they can, that'll be a form of leadership that is needed. And again, with the way they've interacted this offseason, the camaraderie that they do have right now, that could potentially be something that's a real positive for us. If they can hold each other accountable in a positive way, that would be a really good thing.
Just real quick to reiterate, you guys mentioned you're healthy and deep going into the season. Does that imply that everyone will be participating in the first practice tomorrow?
Yeah, everybody but Omer is ready to go. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Joe, you don't have any shoelaces.
Yeah, you know what? I'm getting lazier and lazier.
No, that's just the style, isn't it? That's the trend. That's like what the young kids do. They don't wear shoelaces.
We like bottom corners.
Hi, Paul. How are you?